Well, greetings, friends. I was thinking about last night doing a little stream, but I can't. I can't admit this to you really, but I'm going to admit it. The stand I'm currently using now, I think I said in my last video, I've misplaced it. I don't know where it is. It's where I put it last Monday, you know, on the desk, because I needed it for a meeting, using it for exactly what I'm using it for now, like as a pseudo webcam. So I was like, oh, you know, whatever. Anyway, quick update on the layout, I suppose, first. There's a couple of areas I was unhappy with. Now, you probably noticed it in previous videos, where the track on the corners particularly met the cork that I'd laid, it didn't, basically. There was a gap, it ran a lot of it. So I thought, well, what can I do about that? And I thought initially I would put some green paint in, dark green paint, but all I was doing was highlighting a ring around the area, drawing more attention to it. I stopped that then. And I suddenly remembered I had a bag of Cato ballast, and I thought, do you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fill it with ballast. So in a minute, that is drying. So my trains are actually out of action for the next 24 hours. It's about 11:30 tomorrow. It should be alright. It's okay because I'm doing this stage return to work. Those who don't know, I've been signed off since September. I've now been classed as returned, but it's a phased return. So yes, tomorrow I've only got a morning to do as part of that. But yeah, so yeah, by the time I get back, basically it will be, I can open it to traffic again in theory, though I might use up the rest of this ballast and close it to traffic again for another 24 hours. Because I can still see a couple of areas where it may need topping up a little bit. So that's really what's going on now. I think ultimately it will need a lot more of those bags, sort of bring the ballast up to the level of the shoulder, particularly in between the rails. But it will do for now. It looks better than it did. So that's a big thing. Now, why am I here? Why you know, title of the video mentions Hornby and that. And if it wasn't going to, it is going to now. I find it interesting. Obviously, I've seen bits about the announcement this morning by Hornby. I'm keeping my eye out for the Airfix one for my other hobby, which my workbench here. But you'll notice not an Airfix box, but you know, plastic kits is something else I do. And some of the comments that are being made, and I thought, well, I don't count myself as a British railway modeller. I am a Brit who does railway modelling, but obviously my outlook is Japanese on my trade. So what's my perspective, I suppose? I thought I could offer a slightly impartial view of some of the things, and yeah, obviously there's going to be some biases in there, but things like the N2 that they're doing, Great Northern Livery, seem to be spot on choices. When you consider the amount of other Great Northern stuff sort of coming out of the woodwork from other manufacturers. Obviously Rapido announced their Atlantic tanks. The Great Northern's building up quite nicely there. And whilst an older model, it fills the role. And obviously the J13's out from two manufacturers and that sort of thing. Was it a J13 under Great Northern? I don't know. J52 is the LNER class, but yeah. Good to see the Coronation set returning. Okay, it's for a different service, the Rest Riding, and that sort of thing. And I think, to me, it looked like there was a good balance. I see that enthusiasts, if what I saw was correct, enthusiasts are going to get another choice of Class 60. That's the only one I want to believe I'm wrong on, because I say it appeared there's a new 60, and I thought, well, hang on a minute, hasn't Cavalax and the Kurosco both done a 60 recently? There's no reason why Hornby shouldn't. But is there that much call for 60s? I don't know, but maybe like I tend to buy Kato, maybe there's Hornby folks who, you know, are the same way, and they'd rather have the Hornby offering of a particular locomotive. Totally get it, totally get it. So no, I think it's actually been quite a decently balanced. Yes, there's a lot of steam in there. The Cathili, is it? No, sorry, the Pendennis Castle Flyer Scotsman dual set is nice. I do wonder if they'd have benefited from doing those two separately as well. But the set is nice. It's like with Kato, you know, the C11 tank engine I got with the train, the set of coaches with it. I actually picked them up separately and put them into the one box, or a bit like the C62 as I showed the other day. I'll put it into the one box. You generally can buy them separately as well as together. With the C62 you can buy that together, so again, just take the tank engine. Or SL Hitayoshi, or even say like SL Yamaguchi there, I think you could get the coaches separately to D51-200. I know you could buy the engine on its own because I've got another one up there. So yeah. So yeah, I do wonder if that would have been a move maybe. Really super happy for those who want to model the Southeast in Chatham is the SECR liveried H-Tank is back, which I think is fantastic in SECR livery, full lined livery, because they go for stupid money online. So well done Hornby on my book there. So yes, I think my ultimate balanced view of the release is, and you know, it doesn't benefit me in any way. Nothing on that list is anything that's useful to me at all. So, you know, I think looking at what's coming out, it's a Merchant Navy new tool. Yeah, the other one is, it's an age now. I'm not going to upset anyone by saying just how long ago it was that came out, but it's of an age, and whilst it's held up beautifully in that time, it could, you know, it deserves an upgrade. I know, and I know there's an argument to be made for multitudes of other classes that haven't had a model at all that are still crying out for. I know at one point I was very vocal about some of those things, for my own wants and needs, but I think, yeah, and that's obviously, there's the usual comments I've seen about the prices of things. £300 for a Merchant Navy. Well, if it delivers £300 worth of, you know, it feels like £300 worth of model, then you know it works out, doesn't it? I know it doesn't have to mean you have to be happy to spend that much money, and not a lot of us can afford to spend that much. I mean, I can say for a fact on my own part, if it were the same for the Japanese N, I wouldn't have half of this. So I think the collection would be about a quarter of its size. About a quarter, I think. An optimistic quarter. I've just been absolutely lucky with the fact that they are so much cheaper. Yeah. So they obviously got me thinking from there, and it's sort of like thinking, oh yeah, okay, you give us your thoughts, and you said it doesn't affect you, so you don't really care, so why are you bothering to make this video? Just for clicks? No. I then thought, because obviously there were people wish listing, and I thought, well, what would be my wish list for Japanese N? What do I think is missing and needs doing? Well, straight off the bat, two steam engines. The 9600 class Toretto, and picture, hopefully. I'm hopefully going to find some royalty-free pictures to put in, so hopefully 9600 class. And a C10 tank. And I'm hoping that both those will see, I'm not necessarily saying for this year, the C10 I'd like to see come out this year. I think it's a good year for them, I'll come on to that in a minute. But both these engines I think deserve a model or a new model. I have two Kato 9600 classes, they're rather old, and the one with a motor in it is rather grumpy.
The one without a motor in it is, you may have noticed in yesterday's video, it's on the plinth track in a minute. So why does the 9600 class deserve a new mod? Well, we've had we've had a new 8620 class, which is a contemporary engine for design and lasted a similar amount of time. It is a late Meiji era design. I believe it's very early Taisho, really, but it comes right in the end of the Meiji era. So it's one of the sort of the last of the early engines, but it's a design that lasts until the end of Steam. I don't want to commit to it. I think it might have been a D51 rather than a 9600, but I have in mind that the last Steam shunting that was done was a 9600 class. They were pretty much all over the system, and very useful engine, very useful engine, built for heavy freight and that, but would be seen on passenger duties. So I think in line with the fact that there's a nice new 8620, it would really complement that nicely. Yes, and perhaps one of the numbers is the one that I did the video about needing to be saved. So yeah, 9600 class, that's been one that's been on my wish list for a few years now. New one of those. The other one, the C10, the 264 tank, as you probably saw, is a early 20s, or sort of mid to late 20s, I suppose, design of 264 tank based on the C50, which I ran on the Mogul Magic video. It's based on the C50 and designed to replace a multitude, very much like in the UK, to replace a multitude of smaller tank locos of older designs with one standard bigger tank engine. And I think this would make a super model. We've got the C11 264 tank, which was based on that, developed from the C10, I think that because it tends to lack smoke detectors, it would make a difference, obviously visually, with the C11s. There are a couple of others that don't have deflectors. The C12 262 tank, which is also based on the C50 as a basis, with shorter branches, and then the C56 is based on it as well for slightly longer short branches. But the big thing with the C10 is there is only one survivor, and lives on the Oegara Railway, which some of you will know because it's the home of the Japanese Thomas the Tank Engine. And they have a collection of these 264 tanks, one C10, the sole surviving C10, C10-8, and they have a quantity of C11s, one C56 and a C12 tank engine as well. So nice railway. So the models for all the others are out, and I would really like to see Kato produce it more than anyone, the C10, because also it turns 100 this year, from what I've watched. If I've been let down by machine translation, but I'm pretty sure it's built in 926, so it turns 100 this year, or within the next couple of years. So that would be a super release for this year, and nothing to do with the fact that I'm considering making a diorama based on the Oegara Railway. I'm actually trying to model the real location on it, and I could do with it for my fleet. None of that at all. But no, that honestly is something that I would have on a personal wish list. I think that apart from that, the only other two, and I can see one of them happening without me having to put on a wish list, really, which is the black and silver opposite to my gold and red 3-car EMU. Name escapes you for a minute. of the service. But yeah, that one I think will happen anyway, because the fact that they've done the second set of the Kuroshio 60th anniversary wrapping, or it's coming out later this year. I'd like to think that, yeah, the black and silver one will come. The only other thing I'd really have on my wish list high, as I can think of right now, is for a new model, I suppose. I suppose not really, because it's just a re-livery. So yeah, it would be the Panda train, the Panda Kuroshio. But I know a lot of people know it's a Panda train. But with the newer livery, with the little panda peering over the top of the head of the big one on the front, and the sides are different as well, and that one would be well up my list, especially as my own Panda train is, Panda Kuroshio is out of action at the minute. Yes, that would be the main thing. And then I suppose the only other one is a DE10, but in the original JNR livery. Well, the orangey red with the grey bonnet, as opposed to the very top of the bonnet. Because I've got DE10s in the Kishu special livery, I've got DE10s in JRF livery, Japanese Rail Freight livery, more modern liveries, but I'd like a couple in the older liveries, because they're still in action, or have been in action in recent years, in those liveries, so in that livery zone. But yes, that would be my hopes for Japanese trains. Now, one of the big things that I can acknowledge as an independent bystander, I suppose, in the realm of looking at the Hornby announcements to tie these things together, is, and you know, Anthony, if you watch this video, it's very much the same for your main country of operation. You know, you've got trains from Central Europe and all over now, but it's very much the same for the German market, I think, as it is for the Japanese. Is we're very lucky in a form of nationalisation, or a one railway company organisation taking over existed a lot earlier than it did in Britain. So there aren't many companies to make for. There aren't many variations. You know, you make a D51, you're pretty solid from Kyushu up to Hokkaido. You know, at least one of the standard type would have featured somewhere along that plane. So yeah, for example, or you make a DD51 for the more modern stuff, or the electrics, you make an EF81, pretty much, or the F64, EF65. You know, but it is single classes, and it's really easy. Obviously, for Germany, there's equivalents to these things. So BR50, BR52 for steam, you're pretty guaranteed to see one of those in most places, I'd have thought. Diesel electrics I'm a bit less familiar with, though. A Taurus is a prime example, or a Vectron, you know, across Europe. it's a lot easier. Obviously, for more modern stuff in the UK, it does get easier because it's 66 is a solid one, for example. But when it comes to the steam era stuff, it does get a lot simpler for me, because there were, you know, Japanese, I believe it was Japanese military railways initially, then it was Japanese government railways, and JNR, Japanese National Railways, so, and then JR, so it sort of just went through. And there you've got JRS, JR East, and so on. There are the Kinetsu Railway, the Erigara Railway is another private company now, I believe. Largely the equipment being used is fairly standard. Not entirely. I'm not saying they've got, like there's the is it the Hanamatsu Express on the Kinetsu Railway, which is very much their own thing, and beautiful. If it's the one Hinatori, Come on, boy, get it right. It's the Hinnotori. I apologise. It's I'd say absolutely beautiful train though. It's one I really want to add to my roster. Despite the fact it's 4.5, but then we've got Shinkansens now, so I think that rule went out the window. But yeah, so incredibly lucky there. So it's a bit of a, when it comes to Steam, it's a bit of a thankless task for the manufacturers, because when you start looking at pre-grouping companies in the UK, you get so many more different locomotives being built for the same job. It's not like you can go, right, well, here's the C10, it replaces all these ones. Well, you can if you're on the LMS and you make a Fairbairn or Stanya tank, or later the BR standards. But for someone modelling the 20s or the 30s, I mean, technically, what I ran with the Mogul Magic was a 1920s setting. It could be for the locomotives involved in that. And then also in the UK, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for manufacturers to accommodate. So yeah, so I do have some sympathy for them with that. It is a bit of a thankless task. You're not going to please everyone, and I think that's worth keeping in mind. I think if you're disappointed, something you really wanted isn't on the list, especially if you're a Steam era modeler, it hasn't appeared again, or what have you. As I remember, Railway Silk, we had a talk by a guy, or a couple of guys from Bachmann, and they said they had a bloke who used to ring them up once a year. There's a Highland Railway Castle coming out. Still can't see a Highland Railway Castle coming. Shame. Lovely engine. Go and look those up. They're lovely to look at. Very, very well proportioned locomotive, that one, the Highland Railway Castle class. But I mean, never say never now, because Rapido are working their way through Scottish locomotives at a rate of knots, aren't they? So, but and that's where manufacturers like that do shine. 15XXs, for instance, we wouldn't have seen one of those otherwise. But I think that's just worth bearing in mind when any manufacturer does a release. And there are some safe bets they're going to go for. The Class 60 should be a reasonably safe bet, because if people don't want the Akura Scale or Cavalax one, and there is this Hornby one coming, if I've got that right, then they've got an option. Especially if it beats the price point. And yeah, okay, it's not as good as those two, but it's in my budget. Is a big thing. And I think that would be something on my own personal wish list for Japan, would be some of those older engines that were replaced by things like the C10, because it would be great to run an earlier session. I have got ideas for an earlier layout, but I need the locos. You can get some of them as kits or hand built, very expensive hand builds, one-offs and that. But there were some that were lasted a bit longer. There's a fantastic, was it the Cho line? Might have been the Cho line. Where basically some of these elderly 440 locomotives built by Bear Peacock, I believe, lasted quite late to colour photography. Post the Second World War colour photography, they lasted. I don't think it was quite the 70s, but definitely the 60s, 50s or 60s. But yeah, for example, those would be fantastic to see. We've got a taste. We know they can do it. I'll just grab it quickly. My Mogul here, this micro race locomotive. Come here, you. That's of that sort of era. And you've got lining and all sorts on that, so it shows you the livery options that would be available for a slightly more colourful steam era Japanese layout, because a lot of them otherwise are pitch black with no lining or anything. But I'd love to see that era get some attention, I guess. I believe they've got the manufacturing capability to do it, the quality to do it. The models might seem expensive though, because I don't think they'd be able to do them for the same low price. Because the engineer would be so much smaller for some of these engines. But I do believe that would be if I was to have a true pie in the sky wish list bit, that would be that bit, and that would be from the first time they'd start to encounter the issues with multitudes of different designs. I have a book on Japanese steam locos, and before you get to the standard types, there are pages and pages and pages, and the Malay I have is not the only Malay they had. There's tank engine ones and all sorts. There's incredible stuff. But yeah, so I've waffled on you enough about this, but I just thought, in amongst all the channels reacting to the Hornby announcements and that, I thought I could offer something that was maybe a little bit more impartial, because like I swear I've got nothing to get upset about, because I'm not sure unless Hornby turned around and suddenly did some amazing running quality engaged early Japanese locos that I could just ask for, that I could put my pie in the sky wish list. They're not in danger of exciting me much, because if they did anything later, I'd instantly compare it to a Kato or Tomix or so on. Yeah, so it's one of those. But no, I hope it hasn't bored you. If it has, I do apologise. I'd actually hope for you that you've gone and found something else to watch. But no, I just thought I might offer a bit of calm, because I see that, always know from past experience these times become quite fraught with high blood pressures, and people demanding that Hornby do only modern image because that's what they want, and forgetting there is quite a lot of people that want to do steam, and the steam people want, well, why haven't they done this engine here? Maybe because there was only one built, it lasted 3 years before it blew up or something, If that space can be taken by a diesel that people are going to buy, then that's the way it is. But yeah, we never quite get what we actually want on the knuckle very often. And absolutely 9600 C10 the minute they're announced, I'll probably get a couple of each, to be honest, because 9600s used to work back, top and tail coal trainers and things. I've seen pictures and videos of that. But no, the point is that I just hope I could offer something a little bit different. Mr. Dodge, Anthony. Remember, it's the one thing you asked me not to call you, isn't it? Sorry, I do apologise. Anthony, if you're watching this before I chat to you, I'd like to ask your permission to imitate one of your videos, if you don't mind, or style one of your videos. I've been giving it some thought, but I'll chat to you in our weekly chat rather than this, I suppose. It would be better. We didn't need to mention it already, I could have brought it up later. But yes, if you do see this before I chat later, and I forget, and you somehow remember, then yeah, I want to ask you. Because I just think it might provide useful for the English-speaking community, much in the same way you provide a similar service with these videos. Right, anyway, I shall say, arigato master, take care all, and yeah, let me know in the comments. I don't often do this, but let me know in the comments which locos are you looking forward to, which announcements are you looking forward to, mostly not necessarily locos. And they don't have to be Hornby, just anything that's been announced coming out this year. British, Japanese, German, French, Italian, American, Canadian, Chinese, all over. Hungarian, Czechoslovakian, Czech, because there are. You haven't watched Anthony's Pico video, announcements. There are Czechoslovakian and Czech logos in that, depending on when they were built. Yeah. So you know, wherever your model you've decided you're going to get or you'd like to get is from, let me know. Let me know what you're looking forward to. There must be something you think, yes, do you know what? I'll treat myself to that one. I want to know. I think that'd be really cool, because I haven't done the like, comment, subscribe thing and that sort of thing, but I do want to make better use of this YouTube channel. I say I want to do these streams and everything, and it needs to follow. I feel I've had a policy laid down by Kato-san himself. Always remember to have fun, and I think that's what we're going to do. I'm gonna, you know, this channel is always going to be a safe place for people. You know, we all like trains, and we're all human beings. So yeah, and we're always going to remember to have fun. So on that, always remember to have fun. There's the first ending, yes. And sayonara.